Hello and welcome to the Dreaming and Doing podcast with me, Nicky Raby. I'm an actor, coach, writer, speaker, podcaster and a mum. And in my coaching work, I work with creatives, personal brands, freelancers and small businesses. In my podcast, I talk about success, but not in a traditional sense. I have conversations with those who have built a business from something they love or who have made a pivot in their career. Also those who have built a brand or a job that maybe didn't exist when they were at school and they found a way to monetize their skills, talents and expertise. I've spoken to loads of incredible people, coaches, designers, journalists, app creators, magazine editors, bloggers, content creators, authors, and all-round movers and shakers. I ask the questions that you want to know the answer to. So how they started, about money, saying no, saying yes, pitching, presenting, putting yourself out there, even though it terrifies you, standing out in a busy online world, growing, scaling, and making your work for you and your circumstances. The show notes are always at nickyraby.com/podcast, and the conversation continues across social media, often on Instagram, my favourite platform, at Nicky Raby. Thanks so much for listening. It's great to have you with us. In today's episode, I'm talking to Rebecca Cross, who is a kick-ass, a woman after my own heart, award-winning authentic business strategist and serial entrepreneur. And she currently runs two businesses, a property and a mentoring and coaching business, which are heading towards a combined turnover of $500,000. There's lots of chat about money in this one and really walking outside the constraints that perhaps we felt as children or what circumstances life threw at us in our early days. She's also a best-selling author, so we will be talking about that. But there's a real purpose behind this episode. Rebecca talks a lot about her mission and really takes us behind the scenes of what she does in everyday life in order to create the future that she wants. And as you'll hear in the episode, it really hasn't all been plain sailing, which again is really important because mostly we don't get to peek behind the curtain of somebody's hard work, graft, falling down, challenges. We don't get to see the unglamorous hard graft where you're doubting yourself, you're trying things out, you're failing, you're finding a challenge, you're working through it, you're taking yourself off to a dark room and then you come back with the solution. We don't get to see all of these things usually. So I really love that Rebecca's really candid in sharing her story and I know it's going to inspire you. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please rate, review, subscribe, and all of the good things. Share with a pal. Here it is. Rebecca, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for being with me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited. Very excited.
Oh, well, that is good. That is excellent. Tell me what you do and where you're up to. You've been a busy lady.
Well, I get a bit bored very easily, so I like to just keep going. But I call myself on the online space an authentic business strategist. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've got a whole list of things. I basically have my own property company, but online I am a mentor, an authentic business strategist. And the reason I call myself an authentic business strategist is because I spent 11 years building businesses, selling them. Some of them have flopped, some of them have gone great. So I've had my equal share of failure as well as success. But I'm very authentic and I'm very much about the no BS and actually about how life truly is and how you can literally anything is possible. It's just a matter of having the right processes and the right mindset. So I studied NLP over the years, so I'm a practitioner in that, and I'm also a theta healer practitioner. So I have the spiritual side of me that I have part of my daily routine really of how I keep myself sane and not going crazy.
Yeah. Because people always talk about sales funnels and all the rest of it, and they're great, but you have to. It's that behind the scenes thing as well of how you actually be able to serve people. And especially if you've had lots of businesses and you're all the things to all the people, you've got to keep yourself topped up and in a good space as well, don't you?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. And I think also it's about, when I say this, trust the process, what I mean is it's about going with flow, which is aligned with your purpose. So for me, for example, I have a separate purpose with my property company, which has got a different end result compared to what I do when I mentor women. And when you're pushing hard and you're in business and you're worrying because you're thinking, but I haven't won a client, or I haven't got those customers in, and I'm pushing, and you find nothing's happening, I'm a true believer that if you're not either in the right frame of mind, or you're not, in the right kind of mindset, you're not going to be working in flow and trusting with, because making money, to be honest, I think making money is easy, but what isn't easy is sometimes knowing the key steps and understanding how to deal with those steps around the mindset. And once you've got those kind of things in place, money does flow. I'm a true believer of that. I've proved that over a decade. But I know when things don't go right, I look at myself. In fact, and this is very recent actually, so this is quite apt, is when I think I'm pushing too hard here. I'm worrying about things. I'm getting out of line of what I'm trying to achieve. And that's when it's really important for me to step back a little bit and go, what am I trying to achieve here exactly?
Yes. And also, if you're on a date with somebody and you just met them, they were like, hi, so do you think you might be keen on getting married and having children with me? And like, what are your, that's a very peculiar energy, and your client never wants to feel like I would never take somebody's credit card details over the phone in that sort of pushy sales call, because for me, I understand that people need to talk to their partners or think about things or assess what we've talked about and digest it and stuff, that they always come back. Pretty much it's one of those, if you have that suspicion that it is a yes, then it will sort of come back and it will go on to be a lovely relationship. How did you know that you were meant to be an entrepreneur? Did you fall into it? What did the process look like?
Oh, crikey. No, I was one of those children in the 80s that watched Pretty Woman pretty much constantly. I was like, right, I'm going to have a rich husband who's going to...
I'm going to be a prostitute.
Yeah, I'm going to be a prostitute. I'm actually going to then get rescued by my knight in shining armor. No, I didn't know she was a prostitute when I was watching it at the time. I must say, I think my mum let me watch it too young. Yeah. But I do remember thinking, you know what, I want to have those shoulder pads and have a case. So my belief system was very much, you go to school, and I went to many of them, and you go to university, you get a degree, you get a corporate job. And I struggled with education. I'd reached an age of 7 at the age of 14, and I really struggled. And I generally thought I was thick as you could get, and I thought, I'm never going to be able to get through this.
Oh, and given it was the 80s as well, people would have said the actual words. There was no skirting around of, taking care of people's feelings or anything. People would say, well, to me, you're ginger and you're ugly. And you're like, oh, well, thank you for articulating that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I got told in front of myself and my mother one parents' evening, I think Rebecca needs to go to a special school, because I just wasn't getting things. And it wasn't until I was 14 when I realised I was dyslexic that I dropped all my sciences apart from maths. I dropped all my languages for me to get my brain ready for me to pass the exams I needed to get to college, if you like. Yeah. And to this day, guys, I still don't have a maths qualification, and I make money, so
absolutely.
You know what? You can do literally anything. But when I did start my career, I worked for companies like IBM, the Wall Street Journal, and I did well and I pushed hard. But then personal circumstances happened when my firstborn was born, and I couldn't leave Emily. I was a single mum unexpectedly, and I couldn't leave. I was very unhealthily attached to Emily. Nobody could pick her up. Nobody could touch her. I couldn't leave her. In fact, she didn't go out of my sight for 18 months. And I thought, well, I can't go back to the Wall Street Journal. I can't leave her. And also I couldn't afford the childcare. So it was a matter of, I'm going to have to set my own business. And I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I put all this money on a Barclay card to set up a website. I didn't have a clue what the hell I was doing. But that was the start of my entrepreneurial journey. And I've never looked back, and I've built businesses since. And and got to where I am now. So it was very much as if the universe was saying, you're going to be going down this path, dude, if you like it or not.
Yeah. And did the fact that like school was, you know, complicated in sort of other people's opinions, did that sort of shove you in the right direction of almost, you know, throwing up two V's, going, I'll show you, I'll prove you wrong? And did it sort of help or hinder, or did you, I mean, it's probably a combination of the two, but did you have to work really hard at those limiting beliefs, or were you able to release them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny actually you asked that, because when I was younger, I was very much Rebecca the fighter. Me and my sister were in foster care, and there's lots of things going on, and I was very much the fighter. And when I was 15, I met my first husband, you know, my childhood sweetheart. I met him then. And I married him when I was 25, and we're together for just before Emily was born. And he came from a very wealthy family and looked after me. And his family was basically the ones that kind of said, right, this is how, if you like, when I say normal, whatever normal is, you know, we're going to support you. You know, you need to get to university. And I failed my first year at university. You know, I was still struggling, but they were there to support me. And I felt like all of a sudden, from the age of probably 15 to 27, I had somebody who looked after me financially, and that old Rebecca, the fighter, had like remolded into something different. And so when my husband walked out on me and Emily, I was like, shit, this is what has happened. I didn't even know how to pay electricity bill, never mind changing that. I was still figuring out the Aptamil and then freaking out, oh my God, have I put 3 scoops in or 4 scoops? Oh my God, what am I doing?
Or is it even Actimel I've put in? Like, have I put talc in there?
Have I put Actimel in, or have I put in Sudocrem? I don't know what I've done. I really was panicking. And then when Emily was 4 weeks old, this sounds a little bit, it might sound a bit crazy, but it was like I had this epiphany, and I'm crying and I'm upset. And it was just all of a sudden I got myself together, and I do remember, this is actually, I've not actually ever shared this actually, but I remember crouching down at the bed, praying to God, going, please let me sort out, I don't know what I'm doing. And it was all of a sudden I had this big, right, sort yourself out, enough is enough, I can't, and it's like that old Rebecca who was 15 or 14, 15, had come back in and said, right, let's get back to where we were when we started this journey on earth, you know, we were fighting back then, it's time to fight again. And that limiting belief of I can't do anything, I need that support, had completely gone. And I remembered what I got through before I met my first husband, and I thought, right, well, I've got Emily now, and I'm not going to let history repeat. I remember saying to my ex-husband at the time, I'm going to make £100,000 a year
in a day.
First goal. And I remember him looking at me going, yeah, good. I mean, it wasn't, you know, it was like looking at me with disbelief of like, okay, good luck. And I do have a smile on my face when he comes and picks up Emily these days.
Totally. Because
so, you know, you do. It's a fighting you. Yeah, it definitely came back.
I think it's a really lovely thing to remember as well, because I think I see it so often with clients, or even people I chat to, that our default setting as women is sometimes to underplay things and say, like, I'm kind of just sort of working on this thing, and I've only just started it, so it's probably not going to come to anything, and we don't sort of back ourselves in that moment. And I think sometimes just checking in with all those things where you've had to face adversity, or somebody tried to put you down, or something didn't go your way, like, they're all in us. And instead of using it as proof of like, oh yeah, that always happens to me, like going, actually, I did find the solution, and I didn't think I would in that kind of moment. It can be really helpful going forward. It's not a bad thing to have failed, as you mentioned.
Oh my God, no. Failing, I mean, this sounds absolutely backward, but I'm dyslexic, so I'll give myself the excuse. But I feel failing is part of success.
Yeah.
And that sometimes, and I would be concerned, really, if someone said to me, I've never failed at anything, I'm perfect at it. And I think, well, something's going to hit you on the bum, and when it does, you won't have a clue how to deal with it. And I think that's the beauty of being on an entrepreneurial journey, is that the one thing I'll always say to all my clients, look, you need to learn to be adaptable. You need to learn to be flexible and resourceful. You know, even now, even though we can afford things, I will say to my husband when the garden fence went down, he said to me, okay, it's going to be 70 quid because the poster's gone and this. And I said, 70 quid? I said, right, you need to start selling stuff. And he said, what? I went, no. You can't be complacent. Like, let's see if we can find this 70 quid. I want to see if we can find it as a family. What's in the garage? Let's be resourceful, because you forget when you're on this entrepreneurial journey, you take things for granted. And I always say, you need to make sure that you are always keeping on top of your day-to-day life skills. And I know that sounds boring, but, you know, it's very easy. It can take a long time to build something, but my God, if something went wrong and things crashed, you want to get to that point you can always rebuild. And as an entrepreneur, and when I mentor my clients, it's not about quick fixes. It's about, okay, now you've made that 10,000 or 5,000 or 2,000 or whatever a month. Okay, now how are you going to retain that? How are you going to make sure you can keep that up? What are you going to do when those clients aren't coming in? What's your strategy from that? And not enough of that's being talked about, especially when we talk about business. It's all about, learn this process, you can earn all this money. But then things change and we have to be flexible. So I bring that into my home life, and my husband hates it. But, you know, I'm like, right, that's that. They don't want that bike anymore. We can sell that for 20 quid. Right, because and it makes it fun as well. It makes it resourcefulness and understanding when things go wrong. Okay, well, how do we find a solution to this? How can we be adaptable? Those are life skills that really need to be taught, not just about money, but even back in school, because that's what will get you further, I feel.
Exactly. I mean, for years I was a bit like, the money will always come, and like I'd have subscriptions that I didn't really pay attention to, or I wasn't utilizing things, or I wasn't having the best deal. And then I almost started to have this project of like, actually, and I'm now at this point where I know exactly what goes in and out of my bank account, when things are due to be paid. I mean, I have it, all written down as well. So yeah, don't go through my desktop, people. It's privacy protected. It's fine. But I know what I'm paying, and I remember updating all my software that I needed for my online courses. And you have to go through those sums of like, right, if I'm going to pay this monthly membership fee, what is that going to get me, and how many do I need to sell in order to be profit? It's not just a random decision of going, I quite like the person Chad from Minnesota that like sold me the program and we're going to have a nice chat about it. It has to make sense. And I think so often that people kind of do get complacent and just think that it'll all be fine and it'll work itself out. But I want to teach my kids to be financially educated and not just chuck money at something for the sake of it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think understanding those values, and that's the one thing I always talk about with my children. Even now, they are very lucky, and I have spoilt them. Don't get me wrong; they are spoilt brats, all three of them. Completely spoilt little brats. And I say to them all the time, you've got no idea, but I do say to them every night, let's get a gratitude journal out. Right, nice. Tell me 5 things you're grateful for. And my 5-year-old, he's my little gingerbread man. Oh, he's so gorgeous. All 3 of them are gorgeous, but my gingerbread man he is. And he says, Mummy, I'm grateful that you're putting me to bed tonight. Write it down. And it takes forever. And then I'm sat there going, I really want you to go to sleep.
You're like, Mummy's kind of got stuff to do, so...
My God. And then I've got to say, right, I've got to be grateful that you're doing this. So I think all these things in life for me, the gratitude, the understanding where we come from and understanding how we maintain it is really important. And that's what makes us, I feel that all of us more abundant. And that's we're going back to when I talk about working in flow and your purpose. It puts your vibration higher, and that's when you start realizing things come into play. But it is about understanding the foundations, and that's part of the foundations for me.
How do you know, which is a tricky question, but how do you know what your purpose is if you don't know what your purpose is?
Right, well, I like to simplify things. So for me, this is what I'm like. Are you getting out of bed every morning like excited? Are you getting out of bed every morning thinking, I can't wait? So my mission is to help 2 million women. So every morning I'm thinking, what am I doing today? Is my Facebook group engaged? No, right, I've got to sort that out. What am I going to do? I get excited about how I'm going to help them. Am I going on live today? What am I going to do? And it's am my one-to-one sold out? Are my programs on track? And I get so excited because I'm like, yes, when they come on board and I know what results they're going to get, I know I'm on purpose. If you're not feeling like that, if you're feeling like this is a drag, I can't be asked.
Yeah.
Then you're not on purpose. Because when things are rough or things are tough, if you always remember your purpose, that's what will motivate you to keep going.
Yes.
And that's really important. I'm a motivational MAP practitioner with a tool I use. And one thing I love doing when I speak to people is finding out what your drivers are. So, for example, for me, I can't bloody stand processes, guys. I can't. It's like, welcome on a client. I'm like, I love talking, and I've got to go to Laura and say, Laura, can you send the welcome pack out? I can't be arsed with it. I'm really honest with it. It's not my bag. It doesn't motivate me. What motivates me is when I get the welcome pack back and I look and they've given me their information and I think of strategies and think of ideas and I'm getting really excited. So when you're in business, there'll be certain things that you really are excited about and there'll be things that demotivate you. And it's finding the difference of, is this because it's connected to my purpose or is this because it's just a daily thing I can't stand doing? You know, if you like spreadsheets or anything. So my answer to that is really, it is simple for me. Are you excited? Have you got fire in your belly? Are you getting excited even if you haven't won a client or the money's not coming in? Are you still excited about, I've just got to find the solution. If I know the steps, if it's my mindset I've got to work on or a new strategy, well, once I've got that, will I be excited? And if the answer is going to be yes, I am, and you're on purpose. If not, you need to figure out what you want to do. And that's like by journaling, meditating maybe, or just writing down, where do you see yourself? If I gave you a magic wand, where do you see yourself this time next week? Where would you want to be? Or this time next year, or, you know, wherever.
And without those limitations of those things like that don't happen to people like me. I did a video the other day that I'm going to release soon about possibility, and I think sometimes it's different now because we have the internet and we can see what's possible and we have that sort of tangible interaction with the outside world. And, you know, when I was growing up, we didn't, like, unless you could get on the bus, like, it wasn't really happening. But I always think back to all the things, like if Blue Peter ever did a like behind the scenes thing, or I got my latest postcard from the band that I'd subscribed to their mailing list. And when I say mailing list, it was that postcard, you know, their gig dates through the through the door, that you have to, if you're not finding in your immediate circle the possibility of what you could do, you have to go and search for it. You have to, like we've mentioned, you know, you making 100 grand, then if nobody in your family has ever made it, or if you've not made it before, you have to find those people who have had. And success, I hate this thing, success always leaves breadcrumbs, but it's true. It always leaves clues of how people have done it, and therefore you can do it too. It's just about, as you mentioned, raising that vibration.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is about being surrounded by those people that you can feed from, like you say. I mean, I think nobody had been to university in my family, and I remember when I did, my dad, who I don't see very often, said, I can't believe you're the first one to go to university. And I'm like, yeah, I am, and I've had to struggle to get there, but the fact is, anyone, I think when you realise, the thing is, we're all human and we're all coming to this world equal, don't we? I mean, we always say it. And there's no difference between you and I or Richard Branson apart from his bandana. But he's
got a better beard.
And he's got a better beard. I mean, I don't know, at the moment, the way I'm going, I'm thinking, God, have I got a moustache coming?
I was just saying privately to somebody else, but I'm going to share it on the call. Some people bought my online course last night, and because I'm 33 3.5 weeks pregnant. I was just wandering around in some pants, like, that's all, because it was so hot in our house. And Matt, my partner, just went, wow, you really look like an entrepreneur, like making sales. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like, look at the state of me. But it was such a lovely thing of like, yeah, actually people told me that you could only make money if you wore a suit. I'm doing it in my pants, people.
Yeah, and you're 33 and a half weeks pregnant. I mean, this is the thing, we're all the same. There's no difference between you and I and Richard Branson trying to make our millions. The only thing is your mindset ready to go to the extremes his has? Or, I mean, for God's sake, I say this all the time, and I hate to mention the guy, but to be honest, I mean, if Donald Trump can be the bloody president...
I mean, yes.
I mean, whatever you think of the guy, you've got to give him some bloody, like, Jesus. He's got, you know what I mean? He's gone for a vision.
Well, do you know what? I was even thinking about the Spice Girls the other day, and like what they created of that phenomenon of feminism. And, you know, I remember seeing them on the Big Breakfast or something, like, for the first time. But if you look at the combination, like, none of them would probably get through on X Factor, or they're not the best dancers, they're probably not the most intelligent, but they've made the best of what they can and gone for it in bucket loads.
And this is what I say about with all my clients. If they've got something that's really great and they've got the key steps, there's no reason they can't outgrow me or outgrow anyone else and just completely make the money they want and live the lifestyle they want. It's there for everyone. But it's that it comes down to limiting beliefs and looking at, you know, we are born with certain belief systems because the genetic through DNA, you know, you will pick things up from your mother and father and your ancestors, and it's for you to be able to be awakened, if you want to call it, or whatever, or have that moment where you think enough is enough, that you think, do I want history to repeat? And that's something that I decided, especially when my first husband left, and I thought, I'm not going to let history repeat, and I'm going to do something that no one in my family is doing. And I think that in itself, it sets an example to, I hope, inspire anyone to really go for their dreams, because you can do anything. It's just if you're brave enough to take the step at the end of the day, and that is it. You know, are you brave enough to go for it?
And I think you just have to be, I'm so mindful, like I think that excitement led me so much in terms of doing my own gig that I wanted to tell people about it because I was so excited. And then I quickly thought, oh, hang on a minute, I've shared that way too early. And that reaction of like, really? Like, how are you going to do that? And those sort of stop-start reactions of maybe making me question myself. Now what I found really works for me is going, I don't need to share that with anybody, or certainly not that person, until I'm ready, until I'm in that frame of mind where it's so super strong of like, whatever you say, I'm doing it anyway. And knowing my own patterns of things, because otherwise if you're absorbing all that feedback of what people say, it just gets in your way and it holds you down. And even as I'm going into having this second baby, already I've talked about things like, I mean, I'm sure Matt thinks I'm proper sassy, but I'm like, good, because I'm like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going to that place. That person's not coming to stay. This is not happening. This is what I need. And just really standing up for myself and being considerate of my own sense of self as well.
Yeah, and I think also what I find, and I've learnt this more through studying NLP, is that when you say to somebody, I'm going to be doing this, and they have a reaction, that is a projection of what their belief is, not yours. So what they're doing is, oh my God, no, you need to get a job 9 till 5, dude. Are you daft? What are you going to, and that's when I think, no, your fear is you're projecting on me. I'm brave enough to step in my greatness. That's my brand. I am really brave enough to do this, and I'm going to do it. And as long as I am staying on purpose, staying with passion, staying with the result I want, you can say what you like, I'm going to do it. And that's what you've got to remember. Somebody is giving you feedback. In my opinion, it's a reflection on how their thought mechanism's going at the time. And they just don't get it, which is, they might love you and support you, they just don't get it. I have it with my own husband. It makes me laugh. He's so, honestly, I have to say to him all the time, if one more negative word comes out of your mouth, you're
I'm
out.
going.
Honestly, I'm so blunt about it because he comes from, he still to this day cannot believe what I've built and what I'm doing. In fact, he actually says, I just don't know how you make money. You're just not all there, Rebecca. He actually says that to me. But the fact is, it's because his limiting belief is he believes he can only make a certain amount of money or do something. And it doesn't matter how much I try and speak to him or coach him. Well, you can't coach your husband, that's the no-go. But, you know, if you try...
And we've all tried, haven't we?
Yeah, you know, my husband's called Matthew and there's no way I can help him with that. But when I do, he just says, I know you're doing really well, but he still can't believe it. And that's sometimes some people's mindsets are like that. You can't, but that's to do with them. You can't control it or change it if they're not willing to adapt their mindset. So that's why I always take what people's feedback is as a pinch of salt if I truly believe what I'm doing is the right thing.
Absolutely. And that sense of sometimes when you've got, it's almost like if it's that 10 to 2 moment of being in a nightclub, not that I've been for years, but like, and all you want to do is go home and get into bed, but all your mates have got loads of energy and they're still having a great time, and maybe you've drunk yourself sober. It's a bit annoying that they're still like wanting to do that. And I think sometimes when people say, I'm showing up for my dreams and I'm doing this and I'm building that, it really holds a mirror up to other people and they go, oh, you're really annoying that you're doing that. And you seem to be doing it not in an effortless way, but in a brave way. And that can welcome all kinds of opinions and thoughts. And Brené Brown, I don't know if you've seen the Netflix documentary, all of that sort of, you know, she's not paying attention to people unless they're in the arena. And you're like, oh my goodness, why did I never know that? I mean, because I went to drama school at school, I used to just get so bullied for like wanting to do dancing stuff or acting stuff. And you realise now, and because people have said it to me privately, now they've seen that I've made money from it, of, oh, I wish I'd actually stuck that out, or I always wanted to do that, but I never felt brave enough. Like, good on you, kid. And I think you have to just think sometimes it's not about you, it's about those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you keep going on those rough days, or those days where you're shattered, or your kids have been sick, or like you've just had a trail of bad luck, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or maybe not on purpose? What do you do? How do you reset?
For me, because I'm spiritual, I do meditate, and I really do look back. So I do have a husband. Luckily, he's a house husband, so I won't lie. I'm not going to be on this podcast saying I'm a working mum with 3. I'm building a company.
I sleep for 3 hours a day.
Yeah, I don't done it. Believe me, when I started out the journey, I remember setting up my property company when Henry was only 14 weeks old, and Finley was 2, and they were very close in age, and Emily's at school. I remember literally having hardly any sleep then. But I've built the businesses now that I'm very blessed, touch wood, and I'd like to, you know, Matt has a part-time role to keep him busy, he loves it, and he does a school run, and he really looks after the house, he does the cooking, and that's the part of the deal. And I couldn't do what I do without him. And the reason I couldn't do what I do without him, because he gives me that time for me not to absolutely crap myself when things go wrong, you know. Yes. And I can actually step back and go, right, I need to go in the office for a couple of hours. I've got a problem and I've got to work out how I'm going to solve it, or how I'm going to pay that tax bill, or how I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And he goes, okay, you go. And I'm very lucky in that respect. So for me to reset myself, I'm very honest about this. I can walk away, say to the children, Mummy's got to go to the work, and I come into my office, which is away from my home. I don't work from home. I do that on purpose because I like to have, for me, this working from home scenario, I actually think it's just a novelty, guys. Your children will come to you if you're at your dinner table, or the washing needs going on. And for me, I like to have focus to build my empire, so I definitely do have a separate office.
And don't you think, like, part of that, it's only just come to me now, that it was almost set up by men like, you can do this thing as long as you work from home and you're still convenient, and everything will still get done. So one thing I see a lot is people don't quite take it seriously because they're working in their pajamas or things. It's only just dawned on me, like, maybe that system was set up not for us but for other people.
Yeah, I mean, when I work from home, I was the most stressful person. I mean, I couldn't deal with, like, oh my God, I've got to wash up because I can see it there, and I'm not empty the dishwasher. Something else has happened, and then the phone would ring, and then the postman would knock on the door, and I'd feel like I'm getting nothing done.
Yeah.
And this is my personal opinion. Not everybody, if you've got your own little study and stuff like that, maybe you can do that. But my children, because I am the main breadwinner, when I am home, I need to be a mum.
Yes.
I can't be mum and businesswoman. I need to be a mum. And obviously with smartphones and everything, and obviously I've got an online business, my phone is going all the time, and I have to, they hide my phone on a Sunday. Sundays, mummy's phone is hidden. I'm not allowed it. And so that's something they've done and something they've wanted to do. And I bless them for that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I need to recharge, and I need to. So this morning, this is a live example. I've got a daughter who's borderline Asperger's, and she's very, very challenging at the moment. And I'm, a typical mum, screaming my head off this morning. I'm like, oh my God, because that's live. But luckily for me, poor Matthew, he's the one on the school run dealing with the screaming in the car. I'm the one who's come to my office, and I'm like, right, now I can focus on making money, and then I will deal with Emily when she comes back from school. I know not everyone has got that luxury. However, I've worked and made my dream to come into that, and that's where I talk to my clients to say, when someone says to you, God, you're so lucky. No, I'm not lucky. I've made that happen. I approached Matthew and said, this is what I think we need to do. I'm the main breadwinner. You don't believe you can make a lot of money. Listen, guys, let's just work this out. I'll make the money. You do.
It's so true. And also, it doesn't have to start from the fact with you saying, right, I'm never ever going to do a school run again. Like, it can sometimes start with the two of you working together going, do you know what, if you actually did that on Monday, or like, I have a real we tend to pick our son up earlier from nursery just because people always do that holy grail of 7 till 7 baby. He's not, he's a 6 till 6 baby. Like, he sometimes, like, by 10 past 6 he's done. So I'm never going to leave him at nursery until 5:45 because it just doesn't work. So in order to maximize the day, he's one of the first ones there at 8 o'clock. And you have to drive that thing of, I'll sort of say it to my partner, and, if he's listening to this, as I'm sure he would be, but, we've got to make that happen. So I start my day at 8:15, and you have to communicate with those around you to make it happen. And it's not being diva-ish, it's not being sassy, it's just stating how things can run. Because I know when I'm financially abundant, it trickles down into everything, and it makes me feel great.
Yeah, exactly. And Matt doesn't work on a Monday. So Mondays is really nice because me and Matthew always have lunch together on a Monday. And that's nice because we've not got our 3 children screaming. And also we will pick up the kids together on a Monday. So, and Mondays is always the day I like to do my content and get ready for the business. So the fact is, I think my point is that, yes, when people say, oh, you do this, do that, I'm like, well, I do this. I'm like, God, you're so lucky. Well, it wasn't always like that, dude.
No.
You've got to build the foundations, build a business, and not be impatient. I've been doing this for 11 years now. It's taken me a long time to really build the businesses I've got. And I think that's something that's not talked enough about. You can make money very fast, but again, you've got to retain it, and you've got to learn how to put the things in place for the whole of your well-being and your family. And that's what I've tried to do. And I've also done it that in case Matthew did leave me, I can easily place a nanny. So I've got a backup plan. Do you know what I mean? I like to think of everything.
But you're right. You have to have these contingencies of, like, what would happen? What would you do? How could you... How are you going to make this work going forward? It's really important not to get complacent and not have that sense of, oh, I just don't know what's going on, and have that kind of flippant situation. You just can't, because you never know what's around the corner. And it's an interesting one. Tell me quickly, well, not quickly, but tell me about your book and how that process has been.
Oh yeah, When She Rises, that's been an amazing journey. That's 12 of us came together to just give a chapter of our lives. Well, I give a snippet. What I did is I turned it around 7 lessons to step into your greatness. So I've used certain snippets on how I've turned that into making money. How being in foster care, turned into making money, ironically, and just how I've built and where I've got to through those life experiences in a very positive way. It was an amazing journey. All the proceeds are going to the most magical charity called One Woman at a Time, which is a charity that is basically supporting young girls. Unfortunately, sad to say, here in the United Kingdom, as well as in places like India and Kenya, that are being butchered and slaved and sex trafficked and God knows horrificness going on. And having an 11-year-old daughter just makes me want to cry even thinking about it now. And it's all the proceeds are going to that charity, and it's an amazing charity, and that's what drove me to it. Everyone always wants to be, or not everyone, and let me rephrase that. It's always nice to say I'm an author.
Yeah.
But gifting my story was probably one of the painful, therapeutic and scary things I've ever had to do. And I've only just done a chapter. It's made me think, do I do a whole book? And I'm thinking maybe I will, but it is it's not an easy thing to do. But when I found out where the money was going for the book, that was my drive. And I thought, well, there's no way these women are going through anything. I've not gone through anything compared to what these girls are going through, and it's about giving back. So it was an amazing, amazing journey. It became a #1 bestseller. Very excited. It's amazing. And I'm glad that we've been all able to get together to support a great cause.
And the fact that you'll be able to tell your story in such a relatable way. And, like I mentioned before we started recording, that for the podcast world, there was such a hustle, male, masculine energy to it. And sometimes we need to see people who, like us, who have gone through things or seen things that are possible, to be able to truly connect with people. Because I'm sure, like, when I have teenagers, they'll be like, mum, whatever, like, you've literally got no idea what I'm talking about or going through it. And I'm ready for those conversations, because I'll be like, no, I am cool and I do know what I'm talking about. But I think, like, telling all those different stories and that combination, my goodness, it just sounds so aligned with your purpose as well, of that kind of full circle moment of life.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, my daughter has read it, my chapter. She's 11 and she's read it. I mean, unfortunately, I am a mother that swears. I shouldn't swear, but I do. And Emily says, Mummy, is there swearing in it? I said, well, there is the odd shit word in it. And she said,
I always want my kids to swear in context. Like, I don't want them to be terrible swearers. If they're going to swear, learn from me properly.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I say, but my daughter luckily cannot tolerate swearing, probably because of her mother. But again, I don't want to pretend I'm this perfect mother, because I'm not. But she read it and she did say to me, Mummy, that's amazing. And I haven't even, there's certain things she didn't even know about. So it's a special moment when you're supporting and empowering women, that when you do have a daughter, your 11-year-old can actually realise, this is why you work so hard, Mummy. This is why you provide for me, and I get it. And that was the most special moment. I don't think my mum and dad are impressed, but Emily, she was awesome.
Totally, but again, it could be that moment where you're lifting the mirror on something, and it triggers people, and suddenly they're not quite ready to hear what you have to say on things. But it's your truth and your story, and that's a great thing too. Just to finish with, what are you excited about? What have you got coming up, and what's kind of in the mix? What does we're recording this towards the end of June in 2019. What are you excited about for the rest of the year?
Oh, I'm very excited. My business Stepping into Greatness is going into a complete different dimension at the last half of 2019. We're going over to LA in September for getting ready for an event, and we've got our first full-on 6-month academy coming, which I'm really excited about, because I've really been looking at the market and looking at what people are doing, and I'm so excited about how this one, I hope, it should be, different to what else is out there. So the latter half is going to continue to be busy, but really exciting with travel and things. So I'm very excited. And after just doing the book, I'm a bit like, God, I've done so much already this year. I can't wait for the next 6 months. Like I said at the beginning, I get bored easily, so I like to keep going.
Totally. And it's so interesting actually when like I've told clients or, had chats with people about having another baby, they do this thing of like, oh, well, that's it for you for another year, or you're out of the picture, or I'll get in touch once you're sort of back to yourself. And I just think, oh gosh, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not going to have sleepless nights by any means, but it is kind of business as usual. There's a lot of hours in the day to fill, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to nurture myself in any way, like the writing and the speaking and all the things that I love to do. They are the things that make me feel like me. And if this one is as big as my first, he was £9.10, then I'm going to be sitting in a chair a lot feeding a baby. So and actually for me, a treat is not watching all that terrible, not all of it's terrible, but like that daytime TV. That just makes me feel worse about myself.
Oh God, yeah. No, I didn't take maternity leave really with Henry. But I think you sound like you're similar to me, is really when you've got an online business and you've got your clients, you're not ill, you've just had a baby. Yeah. So there's no reason why you can't, like you say, business is as usual. You're just adapting and having flexible hours and with whatever support you've got around you. So I agree. I mean, lots of people think, oh, you're having a baby. But again, that's a limiting belief, because when people say you're on maternity leave, that really comes from when you're at a company. Yeah. And you're working for an employer and they're like, right, so you're out the business. So of course that's where that comes from. But when you're running your own business, you've got flexible. You can come in on a Monday if you want, not come in for 2 weeks if you want. It's however you run your business. So having babies is so beautiful. I mean, not actually physically going through the process, go through that again, but in terms of when they're out.
Yes, exactly. And family is the thing. When we talk about our purpose, then for me it's and I know having children is not for everybody by any means, but just being able to have that life outside of work as well is so important to me. And I don't want to be one of those people who works 20 hours a day, sleeps for 4, and then is straight back in the gym. That's not a work-life balance for me.
Yeah, and everyone's work-life balance is different, isn't it? And I think that's the thing. It's about what you need to find what works for you. So if you work really well in the afternoon compared to a morning, there's no set rules really to life. You really can design the dream, the life you want. And it's just society has made it the way it is, and you have got the freedom to change how you want to live your life, and I think that's what gets forgetful sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness, because that I'm born in this new generation, because otherwise I would just be that really irritating employee, kind of wanging around on my office chair, interfering, distracting people, because I'd just be so bored, I think. But anyway, if people want to come and find out more about you, where should they go?
The best place you can find me is in my Facebook group, if you're on Facebook, which is Stepping Into Greatness. I'm always in there every single day. Or you can find me on Instagram, which is also, you'll see me as Rebecca Rancross, or LinkedIn. I'm on all 3 platforms. You'll be able to find me, Rebecca Cross. So I love to connect with anybody if they want to find more of my blunt, authentic self.
Amazing. Well, I have loved chatting. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And I know people will be screenshotting things or sharing the nuggets. So do get in touch with both of us if there's something that resonated or something that you're actually going to do. I always say this in talks, that if people just feel motivated and inspired, I don't feel like I've done my job properly. I want to know what you're going to do and what your next kind of the enormous crocodile, what your secret plans and clever tricks are. So let us know. But thank you so much, Rebecca. You've been amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear what you thought of the episode and share any takeaways with me. Come and find me across social media at Nicky Raby, or you can visit the podcast page, nickyraby.com/podcast.